So I want to welcome you all coming out to Peace Park here in Janesville, Wisconsin this afternoon. Of course, it's November 11th, Veterans Day, but as I'll explain a little bit later, we are calling this ceremony today an Armistice Day event for a very good reason, and that's because 2014 marks the 100th anniversary of the start of World War I. And of course, it was Armistice Day that ended World War I. I'm Norm Allabaugh. I'm a member of Veterans for Peace, and more specifically, the local chapter of Veterans for Peace, which is Chapter 970. If you've ever been to Janesville, Wisconsin, you might know that there's a Veterans Memorial Park up there. It was started as a memorial park for veterans of the Vietnam War. The people at the high ground made a pledge, and that pledge was they would not let the men and women killed in Vietnam go in silence. And that park is the inspiration for this program that we're having here today, because we are not going to let the veterans from Iraq and Afghanistan go in silence. November 11th, Veterans Day, is the day where we remember the troops. Those who served in times of conflict and also those who served in times of peace. Billy Ray Cyrus said it all in his song when he said, "Some gave all gave some." So we are here today to remember everyone, and especially the ones whose names are on the signs behind me here. They gave all. Why are we calling this Armistice Day and not Veterans Day today? Again, this is the 100th anniversary of the start of World War I. And that armistice that ended that conflict came on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month of 1918. And so we chose that name to reflect on this event. Armistice Day itself was declared a federal holiday in 1938. And I want to read to you what the House of Representatives debated when they selected that date back in 1938. They said the day would not be devoted to the exaltation of glories achieved in war, but rather it would mark the end of a great war and the ushering in of a new era of peace. Back at that time, World War I wasn't called World War I because we hadn't experienced World War II yet. It was called at that time the War to End All Wars. Unfortunately, that was not to be the case. One of the greatest books of all time was written about World War I. Eric remarks, "All Quiet on the Western Front." There are 4 copies of that book in the Arrowhead Library System, and if you've never read it, I urge you to get a copy and read it. I want to quote a little bit from the end of the book, the last page in that book. "He fell in October 1918 on a day that was so quiet and still that the Army report confined itself to a single sentence: all quiet on the Western Front. He had fallen forward and lay on the earth as though sleeping. Turning him over, one saw that he could not have suffered long. His face had an expression of calm, as though almost glad the end had come." Peace came to that one soldier, but peace did not come to the world. Albert Einstein was just 35 years old when World War I started. He wrote a letter to a close friend of his and stated, "Europe, in her insanity, has started something unbelievable." From 1914 to 1955, when he died, Albert Einstein worked on the problem of peace. In fact, I have a book here titled Einstein on Peace, and it contains a collection of all his writings and speeches and letters that he wrote to others in his quest for peace. Einstein also wrote a lot about physics and mathematics. I read those books and I don't understand a thing. But I read this book and I understand everything that man said. He was searching for better ways of conflict resolution, and he was looking for mechanisms and institutions to prevent war. He did a good job. It's a start, but we have a lot more that we have to do. There's an old saying that when diplomacy ends, war begins. And that is so true. And I want to think back just a few months ago when we had drawn a line in the sand concerning chemical weapons that were stored in Syria. And I thought that here was going to begin another conflict. But diplomacy took over, and we did start bombing in that case. So diplomacy can work if we all put our minds to it. If we would just devote the resources to diplomacy that we do to war, we could resolve many conflicts peacefully. Winston Churchill, in a luncheon at the White House in Washington, D.C., back in the early 1950s, uttered the very famous phrase, "Jaw is better than war." On Veterans Day and throughout the year, people often come up to us if we're wearing something that indicates that we're a veteran, like my cap or some of the vests that some of the other Veterans for Peace are wearing here today. And they always say, "Thank you for your service." But one member of Veterans for Peace taught me a nice way to respond to that. And that response is just simply, "Please thank me by working harder for peace." If you've ever read the Bible, everybody knows all the stories in the Bible, but have you ever read it from the beginning to the end? I didn't until much later on in life. But I realized as I was reading the Old Testament was very violent. The Old Testament was written an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. But then I turned one page into the New Testament, and I saw an entirely different message being espoused there. I started to read that we were supposed to turn the other cheek. And blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the sons of God. If the Bible and our thinking in the religious world can evolve from an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth to turn the other cheek, we can do that with diplomacy among nations as well. A lot of people come up to me and they say, "Norm, you're a dreamer. You aren't going to be able to change the world." I simply reply to that with a quote from Margaret Mead when she said, "Never believe that a few caring people can't change the world, for indeed, that's all who ever have." Peace. Next, the Reverend Neil Dupree is going to say a few words.
I thought Norm was going to say a little bit more about who Veterans for Peace are. And in the remarks he had given to me earlier, he said that anybody is welcome to join Veterans for Peace, no matter whether they have served in the armed services or not. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Well, I need to pay you my dues today so that I can join Veterans for Peace, but I also want to claim that I am already a veteran for peace, because although I did not serve in the armed services of the United States, I served 3 years in the Peace Corps in the Philippines. And the reason for the Peace Corps being established was to provide interrelationships between the United States and other nations, to help people see that we are just regular human beings and that we care about other people. And I got to thinking that can happen also, and does happen often, with members of the armed services who go all around the world and establish friendly relations with people of other countries. Doesn't always happen, but many times it does. And the word that is the basis of it all is service. We have served in the armed forces, we have served in the Peace Corps, we have served in Doctors Without Borders. Right now, people from our military are over in Africa helping with the Ebola crisis. And so as we think about service, all of us are and can do service and remember that that's the way for peace. And so in addition to these signs being the background for our service today, the peace pole is back there, the tallest peace pole in the world. And on it says, in 4 colors, "May peace prevail on earth." And under those words are the word peace in 35, 36 different languages. And we intend to keep adding that to that number of languages. So I want to leave you with the thought, may peace prevail on earth. And the way it will happen is as each of us does our part in serving each other and the world.
Thank you, Neil. Next part of our program, we're going to read the names of the men and women from Wisconsin who were killed in Afghanistan and Iraq, and of course their names are on the signs that are directly behind me here today as part of this display. Names are going to be read by Brad Geyer, Neil Dupree, and Lars Pripp.
We remember the men and women from Wisconsin killed in Iraq. Let them not go in silence. Kirk Allen Strosky, Beaver Dam. Matthew E. Schramm, Brookfield. Dan H. Gabrielson, Spooner. Paul J. Storino, Rice Lake. Rachel K. Bosveld, Waupun. Warren S. Hansen, Clintonville. Jeremy L. Wolf, Menominee. Eugene A. Ull, Amherst. Christopher J. Splinter, Platteville. Nicole M. Fry, Lena. Bert Edward Hoyer, Ellsworth. John F. Hans Kurth, Columbus. Sean M. Schneider, Janesville. Jesse L. Theory, Casco. Ryan M. Jerebeck, Oneida. Michelle M. Whitmer, New Berlin. Michael A. McLaughlin, Milwaukee. Charles A. Kaiser, Cleveland. Stephen G. Martin, Rhinelander. Adrian V. Saltu, Milwaukee. Andrew Halverson, Grant. Daniel R. Wyatt, Caledonia. Shane K. O'Donnell, DeForest. Robert P. Warnes, Waukesha. Todd R. Cornell, West Bend. Brian P. Prenning, Sheboygan. Isaiah R. Hunt, Sumico. Benjamin C. Ettinger, Green Bay. Ryan J. Cantafio, Beaver Dam. Brent T. Broman, Oshkosh. Richard D. Warner, Waukesha. Todd D. Olson, Loyal. Travis M. Wishlaws, West Bend. Donald W. Eco, Black Creek. Andrew L. Bossert, Fountain City. Mark A. Maida, Madison. Joshua Michael Scott, Sun Prairie. Eric J. Pullman, Racine. John J. Matek, Jr., Deerbrook. Charles A. Kaufman, Fairchild. Ben D. Jansky, Oshkosh. John O. Tollefson, Fond du Lac. Chad J. Simon, Monona. Trevor J. Deasing, Plum City. Michael J. Wendling, Mayville. Andrew P. Wallace, Oshkosh. Matthew R. Kading, Madison. Benjamin A. Smith, Hudson. Anthony Alexander Alex Gonke, Sparta. Andy A. Stevens, Toma.
Adam J. Van Alstine, Superior. Eric A. Palmisano, Florence. Nathan J. Facho, Janesville. Eric D. Clark, Pleasant Prairie. Grant Allen Dampier, Merrill. Jamie Jenke, Bay City. Stephen Kastner, Cedarburg. Ryan D. Jopek, Merrill. Sean A. Novak, Two Rivers. Kenneth M. Cross, Superior. Luke J. Zimmerman, Luxembourg. Rhett W. Schiller, Waterford. Jesse D. Tillery, Vesper. Kevin M. Christ, West Bend. Evan A. Bixler, Racine. Joshua M. Schmitz, Spencer. Matthew T. Grimm, Wisconsin Rapids. Andrew G. Mattis, Chetek. John B. St. John II, Neenah. Harry H. Timberman, Minong. Robert J. Basham, Kenosha. Nicholas E. Reel, Shiocton. Jesse B. Albrecht, Hager City. Tyler J. Kritz, Eagle River. Patrick L. Wade, Manawa. Matthew R. Zinders, Watertown. Alan R. Howells, Menominee. Derek A. Dobagai, Fond du Lac. Rachel Hugo Madison, Anthony R. Wasilewski Ladysmith, Louis A. Grease, Sturgeon Bay, Tracy Lynn Alger, New Auburn, James McDonald, Neenah, Jason F. Lemke, West Dallas, Timothy R. Hansen, Kenosha, Matthew I. Pionk, Superior, Keith E. Lloyd, Milwaukee, Christopher S. Frost, Waukesha, Richard J. Nelson, Racine, Dean D. Opeka, Waukesha, Stephen J. Christofferson, Cudahy, Jeremy D. Vrooman, Superior, Brian K. Nazeman, Racine, Earl D. Werner, Mondovi, Robert M. Bubba Rickoff, Kenosha.
We remember the men and women from Wisconsin killed in Afghanistan. Let them not go in silence. Robert J. Cook, Sun Prairie, Kyle M. Hermauer, Chilton, Ryan J. Nass, Franklin, Nicholas R. Anderson, Sauk City, Patrick L. Liebert, Ladysmith, Adam P. Servaz, Onalaska, Meredith Howard, Waukesha, Joshua C. Brennan, McFarland, Nick A. Dewhurst, Onalaska, Daniel J. Thompson, Madison, Stephen T. Drez, Peshtigo, Ryan C. Adams, Rhinelander, Nicholas A. Mueller, Little Chute, Jacob A. Meinhardt, Fort Atkinson, Paul R. Batts, Waterloo, Chad D. Coleman, Franklin, Adam J. Novak, Prairie du Sac, Matthew J. West, Conover, Daniel J. Johnson, Monona, Justin C. Kane, Manitowoc, Scott T. Nagorski, Greenfield, Jacob A. Gatson, Beaver Dam, Darren M. Hidalgo, Waukesha, Justin D. Ross, Green Bay, Paul J. Atem, Green Bay, Matthew D. Hermanson, Appleton, Ryan J. Larson, Friendship, Tyler R. Knetz, Beloit, Michael J. Nolan, Spring Valley, Derek L. Epinger, Appleton, Jacob Roelli, Darlington, Joseph J. Alterman, Marshfield, David A. Johnson, Mayville, Jesse J. Grinday, Hazel Green, Benjamin H. Neal, Orfordville, Jeremy M. Collins, Milwaukee, Matthew I. Leggett, Wisconsin Rapids. This concludes the readings of the names and men and women from Wisconsin killed in Iraq and Afghanistan. Thank you.
And for all veterans who gave their lives in all wars, we repeat our promise. We will not let them go in silence. And to conclude this program now, we have Adrian Pierce from Craig High School who will play taps. Thank you, Adrian. I don't know how you could do that. It's so cold out here. I can't make my lips pucker. I want to end this ceremony with a message left to us by John Lennon. And the message he left us were included in his lyrics from Imagine. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will be as one. Peace. This concludes this ceremony, and may you all go in peace. Thank you for coming.